Hi, Daniel Kertcher from Platinum Pursuits. Many people view the stock market as a means to building their financial freedom. Unfortunately, they tend to fall into the trap of following the traditional buy shares and hold it strategy. Why I say unfortunate is because if you simply buy shares and sit on them, then you don't have any leverage. If the share price goes up by 10%, you only make 10% profit. So therefore, it can be a pretty slow road to building your financial freedom. What's more, as we all know, share prices don't always go up, do they? They can easily go sideways or down for prolonged periods. So therefore, many people have become very frustrated by following that traditional approach of just buying shares and sitting on them. So is it possible then to build our wealth faster than the traditional buy and hold strategy of the stock market? Of course it is. We use instruments known as what? That's right, options and CFDs. Now, options and CFDs, of course, give us the effect of leverage. That is, we can control 10 times more shares in the stock market with options and CFDs than we can by just simply buying the shares directly. What's the benefit of that? Well, of course, if the share price goes up 10%, we're going to make 100% profit because we control 10 times more shares. So therefore, by using options and CFDs, we can build our financial freedom much, much faster. But what about the downside protection? I mean, surely if we're going to use all this leverage, we're also increasing our risks. You bet. Now, if the share price goes up by 10%, we're going to make 100% profit. But what if the share price falls by 10%? That's right, we're going to lose 100% of our money. That's a lot, isn't it? You bet. So what we have to do is put in place some downside protection. Now, what most people use is they use what's called a stop loss. Now, what's a stop loss? A stop loss is simply an order that you give to your broker that says, if the share price falls to a certain level, close out my trade and get back my remaining capital. Now, that might sound good on the surface, but let's think about that for a moment. Most people put a stop loss about 5% below the purchase price of the shares. That means that if the share price falls 5%, they're going to close out their trade and get back the remaining capital. But if the share price falls 5% and we're controlling 10 times more shares, that means we're going to lose 50% of our own money. Wow, that's a lot, isn't it? Now, another problem with the stop loss, of course, is that the share price can gap. That means that you might have your stop loss at 5% below the purchase price, but the share price might open much lower than that the next day. What happens then? Well, if the share price is below your stop loss, the computer will close out your trade, but are you going to get the stop loss you wanted, or are you going to get the market price? That's right, you're going to get the market price, which could be well below your stop loss level, meaning you could lose a lot more than 50% of your capital. You could lose 100% or even more. So what some brokers offer is what's called a guaranteed stop loss. Now, what's a guaranteed stop loss? A guaranteed stop loss is where your broker guarantees that you'll only lose about 50% of your money. What I mean by that is, if the share price gaps below your stop loss, your broker will close you out and give you your stop loss level. Unfortunately, however, they're going to charge you an extra service, an extra fee for that little service. So therefore, it's not really the best solution. There is, in fact, a far superior way of providing downside capital protection. The way professional fund managers manage their downside risk is by using what's called options. Did you know that options are designed to specifically allow people to control the risk in a very precise way? In fact, options were invented specifically to allow institutions and fund managers the means of controlling the risk of their multi-billion-dollar portfolios. What's happened over time, of course, is that technology has filtered down to allow individuals like you and me the opportunity to now control our risk in the market. What that means is we can now control huge amounts of money in the stock market, and yet we can protect our downside risk by using options. Now, when I use the word options, most people don't know what I'm talking about. So let me give you a little story about options that might make it a bit easier to understand. I like to think of options like a handgun. Imagine a handgun on a table. A handgun won't do anything on a table. Put the handgun into the hands of a policeman, well, now it reduces our risk in society and increases our feeling of security. Put the same handgun into the hands of a crazy lunatic, well, that now increases our risk in society and decreases our feeling of security. It's not the handgun that's creating the risk, it's how the handgun's being used. It's the exact same thing with options. We can use options in a very high-risk way, or you can use options to reduce risk. What I teach clients how to do is specifically how to use options to reduce the risk, thereby reducing the risk of losing money in the market. In fact, in my opinion, options are one of the most powerful tools to control risk. And if you're going to use CFDs, which give you fantastic leverage in the stock market, where you can make 100% profit even if the share price only goes up by 10%, it's critical that we use downside risk protection tools to reduce the risk of losing money. So in the wrong hands, that is people who don't know what they're doing, who haven't been to training courses, don't understand what they're using, options and CFDs can be used to absolutely destroy your account. In fact, Warren Buffett, the world's greatest investor, put it best when he said that derivatives, which include options and CFDs, are financial weapons of mass destruction. And that is, if you don't know what you're doing with options and CFDs, you can absolutely destroy your account. However, people who know what they're doing, who've gone to the effort to learn, to go to training programs, to start off small and build up their accounts, who take it seriously, they can use options and CFDs to control and produce phenomenal wealth. Options and CFDs are easily two of the most powerful wealth creation techniques and tools on the planet today for the private individual. However, you need to know what you're doing. The key to success is education, and that's what Platinum Pursuits is all about.